All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Barnick, and for today's video, I am going to be showing you how to do the second part of the three-year strategic plan. So in a previous video, I go over the performance targets, which this is going to be in the three-year plan and how it's graded. This is the most important thing you need to do. So if you haven't done or watched that video, I would suggest you go watch that right away. I will put it in the description below. This is going to be the most important. Now, I have a lot of people asking for the second part, which goes over the strategic approach. It goes over the operating projections, and we can go over the strategic vision statement, which is the rest of the assignment. Now, most professors, to my knowledge, do not typically these aren't usually graded. It's this performance targets that's typically graded. Now, I'm not going to say don't do these because I don't know what your class is like 100%, but all I'm saying is don't fret, I guess, so much about having to do these perfectly. But I mean, this video is going to go over pretty much everything you need to know and do to do this assignment. So all right, first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and get into the strategic approach. So with the strategic approach, you're going to see these different categories. So for example, you have global low cost, global differentiation, global best cost, focus strategy, combination of strategies, and no consistent competitive strategy. Most of my clients that I tutor, and I will also have the link in below if you need help with your game. That will be in the description as well. But if you need help or yeah, so most of my students do global differentiation strategy. It's usually, quite frankly, the best strategy for BSG. The next best would probably be a low cost leadership strategy where you do you're making your shoes at a very low cost, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have the lowest prices, where a lot of students kind of get mixed up in that strategy. But anyways, for this one, we are going to be working on global differentiation. So you can go ahead and click that. Now, to do this, you're going to have to scroll up here, and I would suggest having either dual monitor or two screens, or quite frankly, just take pictures of it. It's going to be a lot faster. But you're going to go to the competitive efforts, and so for example, if you look here, we're gonna come down to, we're working with company A. So you come to your SQ rating, which in North America is a 3.0. And you can see here that the industry average is a 4.4. So you would come back down to the strategic approach. You would put in 3.0 for that, and then 4.4. And you'd go ahead and just do that for every single one. So let's go up, and so what I would suggest is I gotta go back down a little bit. So for example, you just take your phone, take a screenshot of this page. You're going to take a picture or screenshot of this page, and you're just going to go right through it and find the information and then put that into each of your the entries down here. So let's do, like, for example, Europe, Africa model availability. That's 53. The average is, the industry average is 214. So you scroll down here. So Europe, Africa, 53, and we got 214. So the whole purpose of doing this assignment is to try and figure out if your company is differentiated against the industry average. So BSG pretty much works on industry averages. And for example, if you are differentiated, so if you see a lot of pluses here on this side, that would mean that your company is strongly differentiated against your competition. Now, for example, this company has low models. So in a way, this is differentiated too. It's just a different type of differentiation strategy. But if, for example, this company had 500 models, same thing, this percent would be a lot higher, which would mean that they are in a strong differentiation strategy. And so it goes into all of this. So we can do brand advertising, celebrity appeal. So let's just go ahead and do one more just to kind of see what it looks like. So if we scroll up to the competitive efforts, let's go to like Latin America, for example, and we can look at, well, celebrity appeal is 0 across the board for this one. But let's go to, let's say delivery time. So delivery time, 2 weeks, the average is 2.7. So this one's kind of weird on the assignment. If you scroll down to here, we go to Latin America 2, and you can't put 2.7. It's going to go down to 2, which is kind of messed up. It should probably go up to 3. So I would just put 3 in that example. But anyways, okay, so I think we went over the strategic approach enough to give you a rough idea on how to properly do it. One other really quick one I want to go over on this is, so for the internet segment, for this one, search engine ads, technically it doesn't have North America, Europe, Africa, it doesn't say. So honestly, what I usually suggest is just go do North America. Now, technically, that is probably not 100% right. You should, to do this correctly, I suppose you should take an average of all 4 areas. So if we were to take search engine advertising, so if we were to, you'd have to add up all of these. So 8250 plus, let's go to Asia Pacific, 8,000 plus Europe, Africa, and then North America. So we get an average, divide that by 4. So we get an average of 9,062. So we can come down here and put that 9,062. And then we can get an average of the industry. So same thing, we would go ahead and take this industry average. So North America would be a 6464 plus. Also, when you're doing this assignment, make sure you're on the right year. So you have to be on whatever year it says you should be on. So for example, this is year 17. But that sometimes it's really easy to miss that. And that would completely screw up your entire assignment. So I'd be careful with that. We're gonna add 5,036. We're gonna go to Latin America, 5,643 divided by 4. So we get 5,090 approximately. We're gonna come back down here and we can do 5,590. So that's how I would personally do that. The correct way, the easy way would just be taking North America or whatever country or area you want. Okay. So that's global differentiation strategy. Let's go. I know not all of you will probably be using global differentiation, so I think it's important that we maybe look at some of these other ones just really quick. If you enjoy typing, if you're a good writer, you could talk about no consistent competitive strategy. And if you, so another interesting thing about BSG is you sometimes can change your strategy, and you can do that in a proper, if you can do that in a proper way, it can sometimes be really good. Or if, for example, let's say in year 15 your score is just not good and you are doing high SQ, high models, high price, and it's just not working out, well then that might be a case where you want to change your strategy into high models, low SQ, and average price. And that might work better for your score, which I've had experience with plenty of students, and sometimes that is a really good option if you're not performing very well. So this would be a good one, for example, for that company, or maybe you don't have a long-term strategy. So you can come here and type something up about that. Global low cost leadership. So this one, maybe some of you might be doing. So this one we're just going to kind of go over really quick. Branded manufacturing costs. So this one, costs for year 16 and 17, and then we have a low cost. So let's start with this one. So see year 13, that's wrong for the year 13s, but you can go to page, let's see here, production benchmarks. So you can see your production costs, the low. So here's production labor costs. Here's total production costs. So total production cost is $26.06 for North America. And I believe you come here, North America, industry low cost per pair produced. So we could do $26.10 or whatever it was. Now you won't be able to see year 17 on that report because it's 1 year behind. So if we go back to, I don't usually suggest doing this one because it's a little bit more in depth on the cost side. So yeah, well, I'm sorry, this is showing year 17. So this is year 17. So you can go back to year 16 and there now you can see, like, for example, here's year 16. I got my years mixed up. All right, so we can come back down here and go to 2588. It's 2588, and then this one would be like 2610. So those are the lowest, or at 2606 it was actually. So those are the industry low cost per pair produced. And then we have your cost per pair produced. So same thing, branded manufacturing costs. Go up here. So total manufacturing costs, you could just find yours here. So like, for example, year 16, 2588. So we can come down to here, 2588, and you can do the same thing for year 17. Private label manufacturing costs. Let's go ahead and see that. We have branded cost of pairs sold. So private label manufacturing costs. Let's see if we can find that. So private label cost per pair sold right here. So here's going to be your cost. Then here's going to be industry low, average, and high. So this is where you can find that information. Total cost of branded pairs sold. So this is where you're going to find information here. So for example, here's your low, average, and high. Here's your company's cost of branded pairs sold in each of the specific areas. So that's pretty easy to find. Then we have warehouse expenses, administrative expenses. So branded warehouse expenses, this you can find, let's see, internet and wholesale. So I know there's a worksheet here. Well, here's going to be the admin expenses. So if you want to look up your last year admin expenses, you can just go here and you can find your total administrative expenses for each of the years. So that is all pretty easy to find. As for, you can look at this one too. I'm sure all these company operating reports will probably have your total production costs and stuff somewhere in them. I just don't usually suggest, nor I have to go through this one with my clients because it's not the usual strategy that we do. But that being said, it's not too bad as long as you can find the costs. And I think I touched on a good majority of this specific strategy. Okay, so global best cost. This one, extra value, so internet price. So you would find your costs and product attributes. Okay, so you'd find your pricing. This would be, let's see, this is year 17 pricing. So you could technically find this here in the reports or in your decision history. So you can see year 17. You can see your last year's prices for both internet and wholesale marketing. So you could get that information there. Scroll down. Branded SQ rating, you could find that also in up in those decision entry pages. Models, you could find that there. And then you're going to have to add in your costs, which we pretty much just went over recently in the last one. So you can find these costs for your last year as well. And it kind of just helps you understand where you're at. And then you'd have to find these averages, which you would be able to find internet price. This is going to be so the prices for last year, for example, year 17 of this one, are going to be in the competitive efforts, whereas the industry averages would be, well, the cost would be in the production benchmark report. So that's where you'd find that. All right, so and then we have focus strategy. I wouldn't even bother with this one. I don't even know. I don't use that one at all. I don't think that's a good one. This one, combination strategies. If, like I said, if you're good with typing and you don't want to, or if you want to explain, yourself and would rather do that instead of looking at numbers, by all means, that could be something that works well for your company. So, okay, that is it for strategic part 3. It looks like we kind of froze here. There we go. Okay. Operating projections. So this one looks scarier than it actually is. It's really not too difficult. It's just finding the numbers and importing them into your just importing them. The only hard part about this one that could probably cause some issues is down at the very bottom. The administrative expenses, the interest costs, and the shares issued or negative value if you bought. This one confuses people. You have to put a negative value if you purchase shares. So let's go ahead and start at the very top. So we are going to scroll up. So first we're going to start with branded. So for branded, you're going to be on these 2 pages, wholesale marketing and internet marketing. So we're going to start with internet marketing, and all you're going to do is, so for North America, for example, let's say you changed your price to $80. You would take this number here. So you take $80 for year 18 and you'd scroll back down. Hopefully you learn to take pictures and not just keep scrolling back and forth like I'm doing now. But you're going to put $80. And now what kind of screws people up also is, for these predicted or projected performances and what you're going to be doing in the upcoming years, honestly, if you wanted to get really into it, you would technically like do a average. So you'd figure out your average increase or decrease, and then you could average out what this might be. Or if you want to get really into it, you think about strategy, all that stuff. I don't think it's worth putting in that time, quite frankly, unless you absolutely have to. And what I would do is think just logically. So for example, if your prices have been increasing, kind of keep with that trend. So we're probably going to increase our prices because that's kind of part of our core strategy of for example, differentiation. You typically can raise your prices because you are creating a more unique and differentiated shoe against your competition, which allows you to charge higher prices. So you could put something like that. So for pairs sold online, this one you're going to just come up to the top. Going to go to internet marketing. So for pairs sold, you would look at this number here. So we have 909. We're going to scroll down, come to operating projections, 909. Whoops. And of course, you want to sell more shoes. So why would you not like predict that you're going to sell more? So we're going to go ahead and do that. Wholesale price. So you can see this is starting to get, it's very repetitive. It's not rocket science by any means. It's just it's very just time consuming. So wholesale, same thing. Let's say you actually dropped your price this year. So 53. We're also going to pull this one. So wholesale demanded for pairs sold. So 3,319. We're going to put 3319 and then 53. And maybe your strategy is to keep your price the same. That's fine too. I probably would say that you shouldn't be keeping your price the same. That's usually not a good thing. You typically have to change your price some to keep up with your industry trends. But if you're late in the game, that also has something to do with it too. Your industry might not be changing their prices as much. But anyways, that gets into a whole nother thing about the actual like decision making, which I have my ultimate guide on that, which I will link in the description. And I'm telling you, if you are struggling or if you just want to save time with decision making, please highly suggest scheduling a tutor session. It will save you so much time in your decisions, and you will most definitely get a way better score. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So let's go into cost per pair sold. So for cost per pair sold, we are going to scroll up, go to wholesale, and that one is right here. So we have 2704. Scroll back down. We're going to put 2704. And with costs, you want to, you should hope that your costs are going down over year. If you are using economies of scale properly, this should go down. So ideally, you're selling more shoes, which then if you're selling more shoes, you're able to make more shoes at a lower cost because of economies of scale, which improves your profit margin. So typically, the more shoes you sell, the better margins you have as long as you're doing. There's a lot more that goes into it, but that's just a general idea of it. Private label. Let's go to that. So for private label, we're going to come up here. So for price, for example, let's say 36.89, and then for sold, that's this number right here. So 374. I'm definitely not going to remember both of those numbers, but we're going to try here. So 374 and then 36.89. So we have 36.89 and then 374. All right, cool. My memory's on point today. Cost per pair sold. This one's a little tricky with private label. So cost per pair sold is actually taking this, the production cost, and adding this one right here. So it'd actually be $29.97. So we're gonna scroll back down. So $29.97. There we go. So hopefully, like I said, you would hope that your costs are going to go down. You're hoping that you're selling more shoes each year, and then ideally your price, you would hope that your price could go up, but it depends on how competitive your market is. That's really tough to say if it's going to go up or down because you don't know what your competition is going to do most likely. I would honestly say that your price would go down because you typically want to stay competitive in private label. Okay. Warehouse expenses, so branded and private labels. So we can come up to here. Well, private label, I just suggest doing one across the board. There's really no reason to do anything else. And quite frankly, the warehouse expenses for branded, you could probably just look at this and do an average guesstimate. But if you want to do it properly, let's try and see if we can find that. We're going to go wholesale marketing and warehouse expenses. See, this is where it gets a little confusing. That's not accurate there. I think we might have to go down to these reports. Warehouse. So let's see if we can, right here, total warehouse operating. So it would be this one actually. So we have $6.53. So 6.53. All right. So we are now done with operating projections on that, and it's just the same for every single area. I'm not gonna sit here and take up all your time on that, but you just repeat the process. So let's scroll down to the very bottom. So here for administrative costs, you're going to go to marketing and administrative expenses. And I actually kind of screwed up last year. You need to change this to year 18. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to fix that actually. So total administrative costs, you're at the total for this one actually. So you're at 26,484. So we're going to do 26,484. And so that's quite a big jump in administrative costs, but so I don't know if that's going to continue to happen, so I'm going to kind of level that off for the projections. Oops. Whatever. I'll fix it later. Okay, so we're going to come up here. And I wanted to touch on, I forgot to go over this one, and also with the branded production. So I want to go back and do that one really quick. So we're going to come to, let's see, where was it? Branded, sold. Oh no, I want to go over the warehouse. So yeah, you want to make sure that this is year 18 and that's where you're going to take it. So it's actually 638. So we're going to come back down to here. So this should actually be 638. So okay, branded marketing expenses. I forgot to go over that one. I want to touch on that really quick. We're going to go wholesale marketing. I think that this one is right here. So 1385 for North America. So we're gonna, and you want to do, you need to do this assignment after you're done with decisions. Also, I forgot to touch on that. You don't want to do this all of a sudden. I mean, you could technically do it before you make decisions, but then you have to go back and change everything because all these numbers are going to change as you're making decisions. So you want to do your decisions first, and then you want to come back and work on these. So I forgot what this is. I think it's like 1328 or something. But anyways, so we have that. Let's go back down to interest costs. So this one, you're going to go up to financing cash flow, and then your interest costs are going to be right here. So for example, 4,897. Scroll down. 4,987, and you can guesstimate whatever you think is going to happen for the rest of those years. And then this one is, it's not super tricky, but so for example, let's say you were buying back 500 shares. So you would put, instead of 500 or the new total, I think that's where it kind of gets tricky, is it shows the total shares outstanding, but you need to put how many you bought back. So it'd be negative 500. If you were to issue stock, which I usually do not suggest, then you would put 500. You would not put 16,500 here though. You'd put how many you're buying. So this one will put like negative 400 and then negative 300. So that is pretty much going over operating projections. And then really quick, the strategic vision statement here, the biggest thing about a strategic vision statement is just making sure you're talking about like where your company is going. And I would just use your guide, or I would use your textbook on how to make a good strategic vision statement. I've seen some pretty fun ones and witty slogans in there. But if you're doing a differentiation strategy, I would say think of your company. If you were to like conceptualize what company you'd be most like, I would think of maybe like a Nike or an Adidas. They have a fairly good differentiation strategy in my opinion. But they're also one of those companies that sells a lot of models. If you're in that top right corner on the chart, if you're in the bottom right corner of the competitive chart, I'll actually go here and show you. So if you're in the bottom right corner here, you think of yourself maybe more like a Walmart brand, something like that, where you're not maybe the highest quality, but you also have a lot of different models. These, I'm not a fashion guru by any means, so I'm not 100% sure what those are going to be, but that you're going to want to put something like, oh man, I don't even know what brand would be up in the top left corner. A shoe that doesn't make very many models. It's very like niche, but it's very expensive. So I'm saying like in the real world, it's gonna be like $400,000-$500,000 shoes. Where here it's like $50 shoes. Here it's, well, you can't even say that exactly either. It's kind of weird. So maybe this is like $100 right here, where Nike potentially would be, and then this is 400 if you're way at the top. But anyways, yeah, I think that is pretty much it about the 3-year strategic plan. If you have any questions or if you want to get in contact with me, you can visit my website. All my information is on there. If you need help with your game or if you're struggling in any other part of your BSG experience, please feel welcome to schedule a tutor session with me. I'd be more than happy to help you and meet you. And yeah, I think that's it. It was a pretty good think everything went really well. So, and for all of you that like animals, I had a little interruption here like 2 seconds ago from my cat. His name is Loki, and I'll show you him really quick here. This is Loki. So, end of the video. Say bye, Loki. He's very talkative usually, but I guess today he's not. So, you don't want to say anything? Okay. He's not saying anything. Anyways, thank you, and I hope you watch my other videos. Like I said, if you need to get in contact with me, all my information's on my website.